Today on Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
You know, Lloyd, just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this. And totally redeem yourself!
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another spectacular episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have a man who gave away his first business to a colleague and restarted with nothing. He founded Wealth DynamX, a wealth creation firm that helps clients across the United States build wealth. He has clients around the world, numerous employees, and literally helps change people's lives with their finances. Basically, Thrive Loud listeners, he's going to make finances simple, true, and applicable. Thrive Loud listeners, I bring you Jerry Fetta. Jerry, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you today, Lou?
Well, you're in Florida. I'm jealous. I'm up here in the north. It's like the holiday. We're recording this on Thanksgiving week. It's chilly. It's cold, and he's wearing shorts. That's all. That's all you need to know. I'll be better once you start bringing some of the warmth to this podcast. It sounds like a fair plan for our listeners here to get everybody all jazzed up.
It does, but I'll have you know, I'm cold too. It's like 70 degrees here. I'm used to like 95, 99,
Producers, please insert the violin music at this particular point of the program. Okay, thank you.
Oh, boo-hoo. Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
Thank you. We're good that way. All right. So Jerry, there's lots of ways that people can make money, but not everybody knows about creating wealth. I want to dive in a little bit here and talk about, I don't want to go all the way back to the womb, Jerry. I want to do like a quick rewind to learn how this thing you're doing right now became your gig, because I think that's a story within itself.
Yeah, definitely. So, kind of long story short, when I graduated high school, I got into the financial services industry as kind of like I like to say mainstream, right? Financial advisor, mutual funds, 401ks, the normal stuff everybody does. And so as I started learning, I had a friend growing up that his dad never worked, but they always had money. And I didn't think much of it at the time. But as I started becoming an adult, it got more and more weird to me. I'd think back on this guy and I was like, my parents, when they didn't work, we were unemployed. Things weren't going so hot. So I sat down with this guy, and one of my very first meetings was with him. I was in my training phase and kind of pitching him the deal and everything. And I could tell he knew more than I knew about what I was showing him. And at the end of that meeting, he didn't buy anything. And he said, Jerry, when you're ready to learn how money really works, I want you to give me a call. And that stuck with me. So you fast forward, I did, I worked with a very large agency for a while, got then involved with Dave Ramsey in probably 7 or 8 different states as an endorsed local provider for investing. Then I went independent, started my own firm. And in 2016, this was all in about 6 weeks. This guy's son, his son's name is Garrett. We've been best friends since middle school. This movie comes out called The Big Short. He's like, you have to watch this movie. So I watched the movie, and at the end of the movie, I realized that I was the Ryan Gosling character, right? I was the broker. I had no skin in the game. I was just telling everyone what they should buy and sell. And that didn't sit right with me. And around the same time, there was a couple of other things that I happened upon. There was a book called The Creature from Jekyll Island. There was a video series called The Hidden Secrets of Money. And this was all like dominoes, like boom, boom, boom. Right. And so that really, like within that 6-week period, like gave me a total distaste for being a mainstream financial advisor. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And that's where I started looking at, okay, well, not only what can I do, but what should I do? What do wealthy people actually do with their money? Not speculation wise and what we think, what have they actually done in history? Mm-hmm. So I looked at that, and that's the birth of Wealth DynamX in my company now.
All right. So let's bring our listeners up and to speed a little bit. Help me understand a little bit just the mindset and approach that's different from, as I made that distinguishing factor at the top, between making money or making a living and actually building wealth.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I have this thing called the triangle of wealth, right? And so each point of those triangles, the first one is earn, second one is save, third one is invest. Very basic concept. But if you look at what do we earn in, we earn actually in currency, US dollars, right? And so if I have a really good knack for earning and I can sell and generate revenue with businesses, employment, whatever it might be, all that means is I can bring in currency. Right now, the reality of currency is the US dollar is backed by nothing. And as we've seen, very well demonstrated this year, it goes down in value quite well. Right. So there's actually a problem there is if I bring all this currency in, well, now I'm holding the hot potato. I'm holding this thing that's dropping in value. And so I need to then save it in a store of value. And this is where, you want to look for hard assets. You want to look for things that will retain their value. They're going to outpace inflation. And you just know they're always going to be there. Okay, so you go earn, save in store of value, and then invest. You want to invest in income producing assets. And the reason being is the mathematical equation that we're trying to solve with wealth is passive income greater than savings, expenses, and taxes. Gotcha. So we're trying to stop trading time for money, right? And that's where that investing has to produce the income to supplement and stop that.
So let's talk about the investment side, because we're in and I'm smart enough to be dangerous, having worked in Wall Street for too many years. Let's get this angle of it, Jerry. The assets themselves. Currently, as we're dealing with this, we're seeing, we'll call it an inflationary boost, if you would. I don't know if we're in a total inflationary trend, but the price of real estate has gone up significantly. And there's all different other types of hedging assets that have literally seen volatility that we've never seen, from gold to Bitcoin or whatever it might be. Let's talk about in building wealth in these volatile markets, how that's played in your theory of how you help people create wealth.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I spent a number of years in Wall Street too. And it's a very, being in it, being out of it, you probably have the same paradigm shift. There's a very different approach when you start looking at, okay, what's technically correct versus just what have I been taught to think and my managers and executives, et cetera. Right. So the first thing that I looked at is I had to look at actually like what is investing, because I took all of these, exams and tests and scored very high, and I knew all the technical definitions. But when someone was like, okay, great, what is a stock? Right. I could tell you the technical, but I couldn't tell you like a 5-year-old, like what a stock is. Cause like, well, what is it really? Right. So I had to look at, okay, what's the basic of what investing really is? I went back to the etymology of that word, where it originated from, and it actually means to clothe your capital. Right. And so I'm a simple guy. I like simple concepts. So I'm clothing my capital. I think about, well, when I clothe myself, what am I looking for? Right. And so I'm only going to wear clothing that, I like. I'm only going to wear clothing that I understand. I'm only going to wear clothing that fits my body, like fits me, fits the thing I'm using it for. You're in New York. I'm in Florida. So I'm probably not going to wear, shorts up to New York right now. So I'm looking at things that fit the thing I'm using it for. I'm not going to overpay for the clothing. Right. And so I've got these little indicators that I can then look at. Do I like the investment? Do I understand it? Does it fit me? Does it fit my goals? Am I overpaying for it? Other one could be, is it something that's actually a staple, right? So if I'm selling, underpants versus designer shoes, which one is going to be more in high demand, right? So those are all things I can look at. And so for me, when I look at the current investing environment, anything that's not on that list for me, automatically, I'm not going to do it. Right. And so there's a whole slew of, I call it PITA factor, PITA, pain in the ass, things that I don't like dealing with. And so I don't invest in them because it doesn't check off those boxes. And the byproduct for me is I don't have a lot of the volatility and the swings and the manipulation and different things that the average person might experience.
I like it. All right. So let's spin two things around. There's a difference between you yourself figuring out how to manage wealth, and then there is helping others to do that and learn from you. Talk about bridging that gap, what the impetus was about, I'm not only going to figure out that this is the way I'm going to manage my own life, I'm going to help others do it too. What was the kickstart of the impetus that kicked that off?
Yeah, it really was seeing how well it worked. I went back and I studied Rockefeller, Carnegie, JP Morgan, the Rothschilds, all of these, historically wealthy, generationally wealthy families. And I really did look at what did they actually do, right? Like reading their biographies, reading, books that if you listen to them on Audible, they're 40 hours long, and you just learn everything you can about these individuals. And when I started to organize it out and figure out what should I do, I saw how it was instant cause and effect. The thing that was supposed to happen did happen, and it was an immediate byproduct of the action that I took. And I'd never experienced that before. Even in Wall Street, they would train me to tell people, hey, past performance is not an indicator of what's going to happen in the future. Just because I tell you these things doesn't mean they're going to happen, because there's always that gray area of, well, what if we're wrong? Right. And so this was the first time for me where I experienced, A to B, I did this and this happened, and it's just a normal thing. If I snap my fingers, it makes a noise. Right. So that was really where I started looking at, okay, well, more people need to know about this, because, even at a higher level, when I start researching these wealthy families today, they don't actually even use financial advisors. They have something called a family office.
Right.
So then I started looking at that too. And I was like, well, there's now a separation of, if we look at it as food, one group's getting the filet mignon, one group's getting the cube steak. And I know how to get the filet mignon. It's kind of a responsibility for me to teach people how to get there.
All right. So let's give a little teaser to the listeners here. So what's the way that people can get started? We'll have them give the plug section in that, but way that they should get started as they look at their asset shift, the way they have things, the triangle you just went through. Obviously, everyone needs to take that first step. Can you help the listeners take a first step? What's the first thing that they should start to do as they start to rethink about their wealth?
Yeah. So I would say the first thing to start to do is kind of look at, what is your ideal, right? What do you want to have happening with your finances? And you can go all the way down to like, how stressful is it for me? If that's not ideal, my rule of thumb is there's something broken, right? It's kind of like, if you're driving a car and it's making weird noises, I'm not a mechanic, but I can tell you it's probably not supposed to make that noise. Let's take it into the shop and see what we can do. Right. So, what's the ideal with your finances, with your stress levels, your emotional reactions and responses, all the way down to like, what would you like to have happening in the future? Right. And I tell people this is so important because it's almost if I get someone to the point where they're no longer trading time for money, but then we don't give them a purpose and a thing and a reason and all this stuff that they're going to do, they're probably going to die early. The stats show they're going to get sick. They're going to get Alzheimer's, because the human being needs to have some kind of a game and some kind of a contribution. So it's almost important to find that first, and then we can line everything up behind it and then work our way backwards and kind of reverse engineer the process a bit.
Before I kind of peel back the onion and learn a little bit about you, what I actually want to know is how you're doing physically right now. Comparing yourself from that time that you went to your neighbor's, your friend's father to learn how he was doing things, to how you're feeling and dealing today. How is your personal well-being today?
That's a great question. Yeah, never been better. That's something I invest heavily in. For me, wealth actually does mean abundance and prosperity in all areas of life. And so the money category, it's kind of been arbitrary, right, Lou? We have to check it because all of these things cost money. So if I want to be healthy, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, good luck doing all of that with no money involved. And so I kind of have to have financial wealth just to fuel the plan. But the plan really is to be abundantly prosperous in all of those areas.
Love it. I love asking guests on the program this question. Jerry, I want to see where this goes. Look, you've made the move and made the shift and are now helping people figure out the right way to create their own wealth. And from the career you've had before to what you're having today, on most days, you are thriving, including the fact that you're wearing shorts and a t-shirt, which we're all jealous about. Although I'd let you could suffer with the shorts up here in the colder weather. I'm going to make that clear.
I am from Alaska, so I've earned my stripes there.
So hold on. I was going to say, I was picking up, it almost sounded Canadian, but I guess it's even further than that, obviously, from Alaska.
It's America's Russia.
Yes. You can see Russia from there. Which part of Alaska are you from?
I was born in Montana. I moved up to Alaska to an area called Big Lake when I was probably 5, 6, and lived there till about 2 years ago.
So to further expound upon this point, you've moved from the coldest state in the Union to one of the warmer states in the Union. So that means on most days you are thriving.
I am.
But on some days, Jerry, we're off our game and we're a little out of it and we're not necessarily kicking on all cylinders. Jerry Fetta, when you have trouble thriving, what practice do you seek, or which individual do you seek out to get yourself back on the thriving track?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that it brings a level of transparency because it's easy to see the Instagram stories and the whatever. And it's like, oh, this person's always winning. And it's like, that's the definite highlight reel, right? So sometimes, I'll wake up where I'm just not feeling great. I don't want to do a certain thing. I might be like easily upset, like, the grumpy bear after hibernation, right? Like you don't pick on that guy. And I might feel kind of that way. And so my first thing that I look at is I actually look at have I done anything that I'm not proud of in the last, several days or even several weeks, right? Because if I was feeling awesome, like, why wouldn't I be? And so I look at, okay, is there anything that I would be, from almost flying above myself? I wouldn't be proud of myself if I saw myself doing that thing. And it's not always like you ran over someone's foot or you punched the guy, right? It could just be like, I could have done better, right? Like maybe by normal standard, this is acceptable. And I knew that I could have done better and I didn't do better. And so I'll look at that. And that's usually, for me, it cleans it right up, because then it puts me in a position of, okay, I'm going to take responsibility for it. I'm probably going to go back and make it the way that it should be. And I always feel awesome, because that involves adding value to people. That involves helping. That involves responsibility. And it's hard not to win when you have those ingredients.
I like that. I like that a lot. Let's do the admin part of the show, Jerry. If you could, share with the listeners all the places people can find you, learn about Wealth Dynamics, websites, URLs, spellings, all that stuff. We'll put it all in the show notes, but it gets way more engagement when they hear it from you.
Totally. So if you want to follow me, you can go to really any social media platform. I'm probably the most active on Instagram, at Jerry Fetta, Jerry. Fetta is like the cheese, but with 2 T's, because it's twice as good. You can also grab a copy of my book, Blueprint to Financial Freedom. If you go to my website, wealthdynamics.com, you can grab a copy of this. We have several, but that's really, we made that a hub for free content. So there's articles, there's videos, there's podcasts, there's all sorts of stuff on that website that you can just dive in and get value right away. Great place to start. And then if you want to work up into the book or whatever you'd like to do from there, I think that's a good pathway.
Love it. You ready to go down Fun Street, Jerry? I think you were born on Fun Street.
I love Fun Street. Let's do it.
You come from Big Lake and from Alaska, now in Tampa. This guy's literally like, he's going to wear shorts until it's like, 30 below or something like that. It's probably natural to you. All right. First of all, can you share with the listeners an all-time favorite movie of yours?
Easy. Dumb and Dumber.
Oh.
All-time favorite movie. Which goes with the Fun Street thing.
It totally does. We you know what? I'm sending a message here to the team to make sure that we give the right openings for the show. We have a bunch of Dumb and Dumber lines from it, so we'll make sure to incorporate that in. But why does that movie connect so much with you?
I'm a goofball. I always have been. When I was, 8, 9 years old, I told my mom that I wanted to be a comedian, and I don't think I totally knew what that was, but I saw Jim Carrey, my favorite. I loved Ace Ventura. I loved Dumb and Dumber. And so I just loved, the fun and the goofiness of that. I think even as an adult, the more serious I get, the worse I do. So I think there's something to be said for just being able to relax and have fun with things and just really make it a game. And then that movie is just genius. If you really watch it several times, the writing and the lines and the placement of things is just artistic.
Just when I think you couldn't be any more stupid, you go around and turn around and completely redeem yourself. That's what always gets me. All right, so let's do the speed round of Fun Street here, Jerry. This is how we roll. I'm going to ask you something. I want the first thing that comes to your mind. Most of these things, they lift you up, they make you feel good, they motivate you, they basically make you thrive. Ready to rock?
Great.
And roll?
Let's do it.
Of late, a song that you love to listen to, or maybe one that pumps you up.
Knives of New Orleans by Eric Church.
Ooh, I like that. A country guy too. Very cool. Wow, we have a lot to hang out with and chill out about. Okay. A favorite food that's not a dessert.
Pizza.
Favorite dessert.
Brownies.
An activity you wish you did more of.
Kayaking.
An activity you wish you did less of.
I've always not liked having to take a break and go to the bathroom. As weird as that is. When you're in the zone and it's just at this point, I would be okay with a catheter. So if I could just have that on a switch where I could decide when I was gonna and when I wasn't gonna, and it could just take care of itself, I would like that.
Today's episode, ladies and gentlemen, is brought to you by Depends. So Jerry can continue doing the work he's doing and not get out of the flow. Okay. If I could snap my fingers, Jerry, and you could be anywhere in the world, where are you?
I am in Ybor City in Tampa smoking a cigar.
Ooh, is that where you are? Ybor City, where's that? Ybor?
That's 10 minutes from my house. I could be there quick, but avoid the commute, right?
Is there some kind of cigar brand that is one of your favorites or style that you like?
I like Maduros. It's a very, very dark, rich taste. Yeah, and Tampa is the cigar capital of the world, so there's so many cigars down here.
My mind just went for a blank. I went to that steak restaurant that also has the cigar place. What is the name of it? Really phenomenal steak place in Tampa that I just flew over.
Is that Burns?
Burn. Thank you. Right there.
Yeah.
Yes. And then we've done a little golf, cigar, and burns afterwards. It's all
Nice.
good stuff. Excellent. Jerry Fetta from Alaska, now in Tampa, wearing shorts, but all about helping to build wealth dynamics and helping other people make finances simple, true, and applicable. Thank you so much, Jerry, for coming on the program.
My pleasure. It's been a lot of fun.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep moving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
I'm a ghost dodging bullets in all of these alleys, just looking for my getaway.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.